Here I'm installing the dowels into the handles. I've cut these dowels to be a little more than 1 1/8 inch long. And most dowels, if you buy the preformed dowels like I do, which I recommend because they're much better tolerance on their diameter than a 3-foot long dowel. And they have a little flutes for glue squeeze out. But they always have a big bevel on the ends, so I take off most of that bevel and leave just a little bit. And then these I actually cut to length. The idea is they would go into the handle a little over a 1/2 inch, and I've made a little mark here to show how deep they should go when I start pressing them, and then into the drawer front about 5/8 of an inch. So first step is to put a little glue on the inside of the holes. I'm using Titebond 3. And then I like to make sure I have really good glue contact everywhere, because every little bit of glue area is important. That's why I took most of that bevel off the end of the dowel, so I wouldn't waste the glue area. And so I use a little rod here to get good contact. Make sure I don't put too much glue down there. And go ahead and spread the glue around the dowel itself. Use some of that extra that I got into the hole. Again, make sure you have really good glue contact. And just set the dowel there temporarily. Set that in temporarily. Now I've taken a pad and put it into my vise. And now I'm going to carefully press the dowels home. Got to make sure they go in straight. I want to break the handle. I don't want to leave any marks on the handle. That's why I made the little black marks, so I know when the dowels finally were seated. I wouldn't keep pressing hard and possibly break the handle. Then remove the excess quickly. You don't want it to set and make a little ridge, because that'll prevent the handle from seating fully into the drawer front. Of course, these are going to dry before I install them on the drawer fronts, and you don't want to get any glue into the flutes out here and dry, because that'll prevent having a good glue joint later. And there you go. Just do them all that way, let them set, and this method has worked very well for me over the years. I've never had a handle come loose from this, so I recommend it. One of the tougher parts of the handles is knowing where to put them. These drawers on the left side are roughly the same height, but on the right side they're not, especially because you got the file cabinet drawer down here. And so the question is, do you center the handle on each drawer, or put it near the top, or what? So here's my logic. First of all, I sat down in a chair and I felt how low I can reach to get a drawer, and this bottom drawer I needed to have the handle fairly near the top. And then I thought, well, how about if I make all the handles equally spaced on the front of this, because these fronts, when you get up close you can tell it's separate drawers, but from a little distance it looks like one panel. You can see that. So I went ahead and took some masking tape to the size of a handle and taped them on, and that way I was able to see, how would it look if I had the handles equally spaced, and that's how I think I want to do it. So even though this handle is near the top of this drawer, corresponding handle on the file drawer is more near the center of the drawer, it'll look right. Also, these handles These handles are shaped to feel better on your fit on the bottom. They're actually, see if I get close, they're actually not symmetrical. The bottom, I've carved away more material so that when you hold the handle, it feels better in your hand. And so when you're sitting here and you reach down to pull the handle, your fingers will wrap underneath. It'll feel real good. And that's half the experience. Now, in order to properly drill the holes, I had to do a couple things. First of all, I had the blue tape that I showed you. It showed where the handle would be. Then I had to account for the fact that the holes for the handles are offset 3/16 of an inch in the vertical direction from the center line of the handle. So I went ahead and measured up from the center line I had for the handle, 3/16 of an inch, drew a new line, put some green tape on the edges here and extended that line, both in the X and Y directions. Okay, see that? So the idea is that the handle holes will be on that line centered. Now in order to drill the holes accurately, I made a template. These are 3/8 inch holes separated by 2 inches. And I went ahead and marked the center line all the way down the sides so I can then lay this on my taped surface here, and with a little bit of trial and error here I can line up the lines. Takes a little while to get it just right. You want it to be as accurate as you can so the handle doesn't look cockeyed. Okay, I think I got it about right there. Okay, now I'll go and clamp that in place. A couple of clamps because I don't want that moving at all. Now I have the location for drilling the holes. Now the center drawer is built in a manner a little differently than the other drawers. I've got a fully through dovetailed center drawer on which I will then attach a finished maple front. And the trick is to get the front to be perfectly centered on the drawer so that it can slide in to its recess. So the way I'm going to do that is I've drilled 2 holes where the handle holes are. I'm going to go ahead and set the front in place, and then I'm going to shim it slightly to make sure it's in the proper place. I want to shim it up a little bit so it won't rub as it's pushed in. And I want to make sure the sides are shimmed to center the drawer. I'm just using some pieces of veneer, just like so. And that centers the piece. Okay, so knowing that that's how I'm going to do it, let me pull the shims back out. And now I'm going to spread glue on the back. The back of the front. Go ahead and put some glue on the drawer itself. Okay, I'll go ahead and I'll set it up in place. Shim it. Now I'll take a couple of screws and washers that I prepared. Just to temporarily draw these pieces together. So I've got all the clamps in place holding the front to the drawer. I had to do a little trial and error. I was finding that this front was slipping a little bit. So what I did was I set it about where I thought it should be and gently pulled it out and made a couple of pencil lines on the back as to what the level was, and went ahead and checked to make sure that it hadn't slipped any. And once I was confident in those pencil lines, I started to do the clamping. And as the clamps tightened, and if I saw a little bit of sliding, I could adjust to those lines. And that seems to have worked out very well. So we'll know for sure when we take the clamps off, but I think we're going to be okay on this. Here's how I attach the handles. First of all, I make sure I know which side of the handle is up. That's important. I've already got the holes drilled. So what I'm going to do is put glue in the holes, put glue around the dowels. These particular holes go full depth, so I know I have plenty of depth for the hole, but in the case of these other drawers on the sides, I check to make sure the depth of the hole is greater than the length of the dowel. And then I've made a clamping caul that fits the handle. It's got a padding in it so I don't scratch the handle, and I can clamp this handle to the desk front, drawer front, and push it on home. I'm just using Titebond 3 for this, and I've got a little metal rod that I use to make sure that the glue gets spread evenly throughout the entire hole. For the holes that have a bottom that is just slightly deeper than the length of the dowel, we'll make sure you don't have too much glue, or you could create a hydraulic lock that would make it tough to push the dowel all the way in. Now make sure I spread the glue on all the surfaces with my finger so that I'm not relying on glue squeeze out to get the glue into these little holes. Some people might just put a little glue in the dowel hole and think that that's good enough, but that doesn't really guarantee you're going to have good glue contact in the entire dowel, and the strength of the dowel is dependent on all the glue contact you can have. Okay, so again, check to make sure I know which end is up on this. Go ahead and set it in the hole. Start it on home. Now I've got a block that I put in here to give me a little protection. Make sure I don't scratch the inside. Just bring your handle on home. Give time for glue to squeeze out. You don't want to break anything. Get that nice and tight. And then it's important to immediately get rid of any glue squeeze out. Just take my rag and put it up through the opening between the drawer front and the handle. And just buff out, glue squeeze out, plus I'm looking to see if I have good contact between my drawer handle and the desk drawer front, all the way top and bottom. Good contact. Sometimes the handle will go in a little bit cockeyed and you'll have a little bit of gap at the top or the bottom. You want to make sure you don't have any of that. There we go. Let that set until it's all cured. Well, the desk is complete now, and it's going to be picked up by a moving company here in a couple of hours and be delivered to the home. I just wanted to show you how the drawers turned out. These are solid drawers, wood on wood, no roller hardware, except for the file drawer. File drawer has heavy-duty full extension rollers, so you can take full advantage. They're 150-pound rollers. And the way I made this, where the roller mechanism is inset to the sides, makes it so the drawer can fit just like all the rest of them. And then you have the pull-out writing surface here, one center drawer. By the way, in all these drawers I've put a center divider to prevent things from sliding all the way back in these drawers because they're very deep. So we're in good shape. I used brie wax to lubricate the sides of the drawers and the runners, and the clear brie wax, and that works well. So here's how the front turned out. Of course, I've waxed the top nicely, again using brie wax, and all the drawers. Got the knobs so that from a distance they look nice and symmetrical, but as you can see when we get close, they're actually in different locations on the drawer fronts, depending on this particular size of the drawer. So, piece turned out like we wanted it to, and now we'll be delivering it. Well, I hope you've enjoyed the video series on making this desk. It was a long process. We did a lot of different operations in making it, but I hope it was good for you to watch, and I appreciate you tuning in.